Well, good morning everybody. How y'all doing? Pretty good here, and welcome to the channel. About a month ago or so, I did a seat fix in the Tacoma back here. And just a quick recap, what I did is I put some spacers in underneath the brackets for the seats here to raise the back of the seat up to give me a more level seating position in the seat. Since I've done that, I've had a few comments about different things that you could use, people worried about stability and things like that. And one thing that has been mentioned a lot is washers. Stacking washers to achieve the height that you want, to get a little more contact or coverage, if you will, under that bracket, between the bracket and the floor pan of the truck. So I thought, you know, I'm going to give that a try. We're going to do the install with washers, using washers to achieve the height that I want, as opposed to the spacers that I'd used before. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to stack up some washers, if you will, to achieve the same height, which is 1 inch, of the spacers that I had used in the truck before. So we're going to head in the garage and we're going to stack up the washers, and then we're going to do the install. Okay, you guys can see here I've got a couple of spacers. These are actually the same size spacers that I had used, and they are 1 inch. Go ahead and show you guys that. You can see there they are 1 inch spacers. And then I also picked up some washers. These are what I'm going to use, and I'm going to stack these up all the same way. There is a top and a bottom, if you will. So we're going to stack these up all the same way to achieve the same height as these these spacers. Now what I've got here is just a 7/16 washer. Nothing special. These are Hillman washers. So we're going to stack these up, and then we're going to do the install in the truck. So let's go ahead and see how many we'll need. I had actually measured these out at the store, but I can't remember now how many it actually takes. So, and as I said, I'm trying to stack them all the same direction. Hopefully we have enough. That would be a real drag. Getting closer. And again, there's nothing wrong with the spacers that I used. You can see obviously there's going to be more contact with the bracket in the truck and the floor using the washers as opposed to the spacers. But I thought I'd give it a try since a lot of folks have mentioned it, and I'm very interested just to see. And actually we're going to end up just a hair, you guys can see, just a hair higher if we go trying to get about level with the washer. And I think that's okay. We're going to go ahead and go with that number right there. So, how many do we have? Well, let's see. Alright, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 washers. So it takes 14 of these washers to achieve just over a little over an inch rather in height as compared to the spacer. So we're going to go out and stack up 2 stacks of these, 14 each high, put them in, and I'll show you that again just so you guys can see how to do it, and see how to do it using washers as opposed to the spacers over here. Okay, here we go. I've got my spacers out here, my washers, and a couple of tools. All this takes is a 17 millimeter socket, and I'm going to use the drill to take the bolts off the rest of the way. They're a little difficult to get off. In other words, the drill's not powerful enough to pull them all the way off. These just pull off. These are just the covers. Pretty simple to do. And then we're going to use the ratchet to loosen up the bolts, as I said, remove the spacers I'd put in before, and then put my new ones in. Wow, that was pretty simple. I guess I should have retorqued that. Now I will say the bolt hole on the driver's side far left the one I'm working on now, didn't line up very well with the hole in the bracket for the seat. So that might be a little interesting to get in. Let's see if my drill is powerful enough to pull these out now. Oh yeah. Okay. Go ahead and take these out. Again, you can check out my other video for the bolts that I used. If you're looking for size or anything like that, I did have to replace the bolts. So, and some people have asked what grade these were. These are an 8.8, I believe. I don't know if you guys can see that. But they're stamped 8.8. I don't know if that means grade 8 or not. But that's what they are, and I am happy with them myself. So, okay, we've got the bolts out. Let's go ahead and get the spacers out. Again, these are the ones I had used before. You guys can see they're a 1 inch, just a sleeve actually. I think they're a bearing sleeve, but I'll call them a spacer. Now, the trick here, of course, you have a whole stack of washers. Trying to get it down in here without the washers all separating while you put it in. Should be pretty easy on this side, since I am right-handed, I think. You really just need to get them over the hole, and then you can use the screw to line everything up, I guess, or the bolt rather. There, that one wasn't too bad. Get that started just a little. Let's go ahead and get the driver's side in. And again, this one, the hole doesn't line up real well in the truck. So that makes it a little more challenging, I guess. Yeah, so far so good. Line up that top washer. I always seem to move the top washer for some reason. Make sure I get them all lined up, and I will straighten them up a bit once I get the screws started in there. There, I think that's pretty good. And they actually do line up pretty well, just setting them in there as far as keeping them all straight. So I think they're actually almost perfect. I'm going to lift this floor mat up a little here and finagle these a little bit. They're really pretty straight now, so. And with the bolt through them, they can't move a whole lot. If they move a little bit, really shouldn't make that much of a difference. And I think that's pretty good. So, let's use the drill here, tighten these down a little, hopefully. Helps if you turn the drill correctly. That's about all my drill's going to do on that side, and that's it on that side. So now we have to do it the old-fashioned way. So we'll torque these down, if you will. And torque for me, get them about as tight as you can without really getting on them. I wouldn't want to strip out the screws, or the threads rather. So I'm not gonna crank on these like, you know, my life depends on it, but they are gonna be super tight for sure. Okay, that one's snug. Let's get the other one snug down. Wow, this one goes in really well. The drill was almost able to tighten it as far as I'd want to go. Again, I'm not gonna go crazy. I could probably strip these out, which I've been known to do, but I am gonna snug them down pretty good. And I would say to the point where you really would have to get on them to get them any tighter. So go about that tight. That's about it. And then I will recheck them, and you should too, down the road a little bit, just to make sure that they've stayed tight I would make sure that they do. And then we'll go ahead and put our covers back on as we did before. And they just kind of snap on. All you have to do with these, pull these apart a little bit here and then fit them over the bracket itself, and then it just snaps on to the front part of the bracket or the back part of the bracket. So just kind of pull that apart, put it over, and then famous last words, and then they should just snap right on. At least I think my cover was in the way. There, just like that. And then make sure they stay down below, which they are. And that's it. That's the install. Not too complicated, as you can see. And we'll go around to the front. I'll show you again what this does for me, why I'm actually doing this, and then we'll finish up. Okay, so we're done. Everything's installed. That is using the washers versus using the little spacers that I had. These little guys. I don't know that there's a big difference. Again, I didn't have any problem with the spacers that I used, these little guys. I just wanted to try it with the washers. Some people have mentioned using washers, so I thought, I'm going to give it a try. We'll do an install on that and see what it's like. And not really much different. You do have to finagle with the washers a little bit. Not much to keep them stacked up while you put them in the holes, but honestly, it wasn't too difficult. So what does this do for me? Well, what it does is it levels out the seat. If you check out my other video, you can see the seat was more angled towards the back here, if you will, than it is now. It kind of flattens it out a little bit, makes it a little bit more level. And what that does for me is kind of raises up the rear a little bit so that I have, I don't know, a little bit cleaner view off of the front, off of that scoop. And for such a small adjustment, I mean, it's an inch, you know, an inch and an eighth maybe, my new setup now with that little bit thicker extra washer, makes a heck of a difference the way that you sit in the truck. And I had mentioned before, it feels more like a truck now. I don't know if it's just a mental thing or what, but everybody that I've talked to or had comments from that have done this have said the same thing, that it makes it feel more like a truck. Better seating position, more comfortable. And I definitely think that's true. Of course, sitting in it now, the washers as compared to the spacers, I don't notice any difference from a seating or a feel standpoint. And I wouldn't, because it's basically the same height as it was before. So let me know what you guys think. Have you done this mod? I know a lot of people out there said that they were going to do it. And did you use washers or did you use spacers, and how was the install? Anyway, just wanted to get on here, try out a different application, a different way to do this, because a lot of folks have mentioned it. As usual, appreciate you guys watching. Please give this video a big thumbs up. Click that subscribe button if you haven't before. And we'll see you next time on the web. Have a good day. Bye.